Good afternoon, everyone. It is 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and that means it's SportsMemo TV's full count Major League Baseball show ahead of the NBA Game 1 conference final East showdown between the Celtics and the Heat. I just had to add a little basketball flavor into it. And I heard that I have a steak dinner coming or something from a bet that was made earlier the week, but it's not until I can figure out who I bet on. I guess I don't get it. So I'm going to rely on you two guys to tell me who I bet and what it was on, so I can collect on this steak dinner. I know it was a fair bet because I offered cheesesteak at Pat's, and if I won, it was a steak dinner at Ruth Chris, and I consider that very equitable. But I don't remember what I bet on, so I guess I'm not going to be eating.
I don't. Kevin, do you know?
It was Rocky on the show, and he knows because he messaged me telling me he liked my side. Then I was like, oh, that was a little worried. Not because he liked it, but
does that mean I get 2 steak dinners since both of you liked it?
It's a cheese steak sandwich.
Dr. Chuck,
I'll make it myself.
I think we'll have to check the tape here. Old school. We're gonna have to get out the VHS.
You can ask Tony Finn. Usually, my bets are going to be some sort of barrel aged bourbon. I'm still waiting on that, by the way.
Yeah, we got to get that Manny's Pub Show fired up again. Maybe we'll start that later this week or next week at the latest. That was fun to do. Anyway, we're here to talk Major League Baseball. Welcome to the show, gentlemen, and we're going to start it right now with a team that does not have a starting pitcher named, and a game that I actually wanted to talk about. We have the San Diego Padres taking on the Philadelphia Phillies, who are fresh off a series win, which I did call on the show, by the way. That's one good thing I said, that the Phillies had a good chance to win the series. They did. They should have swept them for only the second time in their franchise history in Los Angeles, but ninth inning troubles. Dodgers are a pretty good team, and they got it done in Game 4. But the Phillies took 3 out of 4, and that offense, which I will talk about after you guys give your breakdowns, is looking pretty darn good. In fact, a lot of the StatCast measures, there's only one offense that is better, and that is the New York Yankees, and it's by a smidge. And I do believe that the Philadelphia media should really kind of wake up, in my humble opinion, and stop trying to trade Rhys Hoskins. Stop complaining about whatever it is that they're not doing right, because they are doing an awful lot of things right. And they're climbing the ladder of all the offensive categories. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Chuck here and see if he first has recovered from that no-hitting loss by the Cincinnati Reds, and just to see how he's doing in general.
Oh, it's just awful, John. But quite a performance from Hunter. Yeah, I guess you learned your lesson. You can only don't tell AJ Burnett, but you can only walk so many guys in a no-hitter and survive if you have this kind of offense. So we were just discussing right before we came on air. It looked like it was going to be Zach Eflin. They've taken him down. I don't know if that 100% means that he's not getting the ball. Kevin was maybe touting some possibilities of it just being a bullpen game. Not really sure where Girardi's going to go there. I have a hard time going against the Phillies, similar to what John was saying there. You know, I don't like the spot for either of these teams, but I also don't like the line here when you're not. I thought that I was pretty big against the Padres on Sunday, you know, knowing that they had the Phillies coming up, but a day off in between. And, you know, the Phillies came back and won that game, as well as having to come back on Saturday only to lose. If that was a no rest situation, I'd be all over the Phillies, but they did have that day off. So it makes it a little tricky in the middle of a road trip. I think the Phillies, you know, depending on how you feel about home field advantage, and we talk a lot about home court advantage in basketball and home field advantage in football. And I don't know if everyone has a dead on definition of what it should be, but I think it's more than 115 on the Phillies, no matter who's starting. And they've done, the offense is looking pretty solid, especially against right-handed hitting. If you're telling me you're giving me the Phillies at what I think is less than normal vig, that'd probably be the way to go. I do kind of want to know who's starting first. I wouldn't be putting a bet out just knowing Clevenger's playing, starting. And I'm sure Machado, who also was not in the lineup on Sunday, got a day off before the day off. They'll definitely be back. And the Padres did hit pretty well at Truist. So you could maybe look at maybe an over here. You mentioned the Phillies bullpen is a special case. Sometimes they can excel, and sometimes they can look like they did once over the weekend, and then that Braves game from a week ago. So, you're probably going to get good value on that 8. So, couple of options there. Maybe one note starter.
Good stuff, Dr. Chuck. And it is hard to break this game down. And I know this sounds crazy, but I am on the Phillies here. If these are real lines that we are seeing like at DraftKings, I would jump on it. I don't see an opportunity yet at BetMGM, which is the one that I use about 80% of the time. But I would get it because if anything other than Zach Eflin is on the hill, wouldn't you guys agree that the line is not going to be minus 115, and it could be a lot higher in this matchup? Is my thinking. They're not going to go to a dog. That's almost impossible, I guess. And minus 115 just seems to be dirt cheap. Kevin Thomas, I don't know if you've got that bat out to try to intimidate me from collecting my bet, or whether you just want to show your skills of how to bunt properly.
It's my crutch. It's my crutch. Yeah.
What do you think of this game?
Look, Clevenger is a stud, and we know he was out a whole year with Tommy John surgery, and he's been getting 4 innings every game since his 2 previous starts, 4 innings. And yeah, I was looking at this total because I figure you got Clevenger who might go 4 or 5 innings, Eflin who was with the COVID symptoms out 2 weeks. I figured this thing was going to go way over the total, but bullpen pitching scares me a lot just because the fact guys come 2 innings, they give up a hit or something, they pull them out right away. And with the Phillies getting the rest day, they can actually do that. And my guy, Sir Anthony Dominguez, I love the guy. I'd like to see him go 3 innings today. See what he's got. He's stepped up big and stuff here. But this is like the Machado versus Harper. These were the 2 guys that everybody wanted, and Phillies ended up getting Harper. Harper had injections, I'm pretty sure, in his elbow. I'm not sure if he had a knee problem too. I don't know why the Phillies would even play him tonight with all the hitters they have going. He might want to play because it's against Machado. I mean, they got another game, so I can see him sitting this game out. So I might actually look at the under here. I would stay away from making a bet at all on either team. I think I might lean. I wanted the over, but then bullpen sessions kind of scare me. I would go under because I saw it at 8.5.
What do you think of this idea? What I like doing is not betting pre-flop, waiting for the game to start, and literally hoping that San Diego scores a run or 2 in the first 2 innings, and then jumping on the Phillies. To your point, Kevin, that Clevenger's going to go 4 innings. It's possible they may stretch him out. You never know when they're going to do that with a guy coming off Tommy John. But even if he goes forward, that means the bullpen is exposed. And these Philly bats, I mean, you put a left-hander on that mound, and they start salivating like they're eating a steak that they won a bet on at Ruth Chris. I mean, it's ridiculous. And Harper, there's another reason for him to play tonight. I don't see any dominating performances coming out of the pen either. So this, I like the under lean, but then I kind of feel like the Phillies will win 6-2, and I think the total is 8.5. Is that right, Chuck?
Yeah.
So anyway, one thing I wanted to mention is StatCast and hard hit percentage. The Phillies are 4th in Major League Baseball. Of course, the Yankees are first at 47.1%. Then the Blue Jays 44.2, White Sox 42.8. Then the Phillies at 42.6. Then barrel percentage, which is again led by the New York Yankees at 12.2%, which is really ungodly good. Followed by the Atlanta Braves of all teams. That losing record reigning world champion team is lurking, 10.8% barrel. And the Brewers are next in line, 10.3. The Phillies are a little bit further down the list at 8.5. They're in 10th position in that category. But the one stat that I know Dr. Chuck likes, and I think Kevin Thomas likes this one too, is the Wobacon. So Wobacon is the Phillies are leading the Major League Baseball in that major StatCast category. I think it's the most important one that they put out. Their Wobacon is 398 right now, tops in the majors, followed by the Angels, which makes sense to me, at 397, followed by the Yankees at 386. And I think this lineup is sustainable, and it's not because I'm a homer or anything of the such. I do think that this lineup is coming together. And furthermore, I run that Twitter sentiment that I do with that application I built in Python. The sentiment a week ago was literally that they were going to fire Joe Girardi and that this was just a complete mistake to bring in Kyle Schwarber and Constellanos and all the other guys. And they should just go find new jobs because they're not baseball players. And whenever the sentiment gets that negative, look what happened. They go out to L.A. and win 3 out of 4. There was rumors that Girardi's job was on the line. I don't believe that for a second, and we'll never know whether that was the case or not. But I don't think 3 out of 4 in L.A. is what saved his job. I mean, this team is starting to come together, and the Mets better start looking over their shoulders in the standings, in my humble opinion. And I don't care if you guys don't agree with me or not. Because we're going to move on to this game. This game is the LA Angels, speaking of powerful offensive teams and, fundamentally sound teams. Mike Trout is a fundamentally sound player. One of the probably most fundamentally sound players that we've seen in the last decade. They're going up against, excuse me, they're going up against the Texas Rangers tonight. Let's start this game off with Dr. Chuck and see what he's got for us with this matchup.
It's actually I think it's a pretty neat thing, actually. So you got Detmers, who is off a no-hitter, and you got Hearn, who was off, for the most part, doing that in his last outing as well. Not a lot of good, solid trends to play off of the no-hitter as far as backing a team like Detmers. Last 15 years, the favored team in that starters game is 10-6 straight up. It's 8-8 on the run line. Not a solid place on the over-under. But if you're looking at the Angels and you think that was what we're going to see more of in the future for Detmers, and you're looking at last night, I was pretty big on 4 last night, thinking that, John Gray has really not looked like the John Gray that the Rangers were hoping for. And it just got out of hand so quickly that 6 runs in the first inning, the Angels could never recover from that. Angels off of a loss inside of a series this season are 9-1 straight up, 9-1 over as well. I would have looked under here. Both these teams are pretty bad against lefties. John just brought up, you put a lefty on the mound and the Padres start salivating. He's darn right. I look at a lot of capsules of week at a time, 2 weeks at a time, season back, home, away. Padres are the second best team against left-handed hitters. Phillies are the best. The worst team against left-handed hitting over the past week or so is the Angels, with the Rangers as the 5th worst. They're slashing, the Angels are slashing -4, -5, 215, 40. It's just bad. Taylor Hearn has the ability to back that up after last night. I like getting that value under 8.5. It's juiced to the over. I'm on the under 8.5 for sure. If you had to pick a side, I'm not going against what the Angels have done off of a loss, and whether or not you think Detmers is better than Syndergaard or Syndergaard is better than Detmers, it's going to be that same lineup. Ohtani doesn't have a lot of trouble facing a lefty either. He's better against righties, but he's not one of those guys that's going to be platooned, obviously. And Madden can platoon everyone else, and he only faces one lefty. And so I like this as a 4-3 type ceiling, and if you had to pick a side, I'd be taking the Angels.
I like the Angels side. Any concern with Denver's had one start against Texas, and it didn't go so well. 3 1/3, he allowed 5 earned runs. Translates to a small sample size, 13 ERA. I wonder, this is where I'm fascinated always by the psychology of sports, whether it's amateur or professional. And I do sometimes wonder what is going through, a PGA golfer's mind when they have a one-shot lead in the U.S. Open and there's 5 holes to play. What goes on in Detmer's mind as he prepares to go to the hill tonight to continue. I mean, you can't forget that you just threw a no-hitter. I mean, I get the whole thing of being in the moment, one pitch at a time, one strike at a time. But when you just threw a no-hitter that kind of came out of left field, so to speak, it'd be hard to forget. So, Kevin Thomas, do you think that's going to be a factor tonight with how long he lasts on the hill? Because I think if he's not really focused, he could probably get pretty well hammered by this Texas team.
Yeah, just looking at this line. I mean, the Rangers are what, plus 110? You got a guy that just threw a no hitter, and the Rangers are plus 110. Well, the Rangers are 8-5 in May and 5-3 at home. I'm taking the Rangers all day here, plus 110. No way does a guy that gets 2 strikeouts or less a game. I mean, the over and under for him to get 4 strikeouts is unbelievable. The money you can make if he gets over 4. And you're talking about a Rangers team that's fairly young, mixed with some good veterans in that hitting lineup. These guys are going to be able to hit this guy. You know, they hit him before earlier in the season. But, hey, granted, the Angels also hit Hearn pretty good, too, in the beginning of the season. But I think Hearn's stepped his game up a lot since that game. And I think this home field advantage helps, look at game 1. Rangers did there. I'm thinking the plus 110. I mean, I'm not laying my house on it, but I would take the Rangers plus 110. Just too low of a line for an Angels team. I mean, the Rangers plus 110. It's just such a shady line for such a good Angels team.
Yeah, I'm with you too. I kind of smell something there. It just seems to be a trap to take the Angels. I mean, they are on the road. Doesn't really matter with that lineup, but and then you have look at all the arrows pointing to the left on the graphic. It's like every single category is favoring the Angels, and I'm not a contrarian type of person. My glass is more than half full all the time. But in this particular case, I mean, this I see this and it's overwhelming, which means that if the line is pick, I mean, seeing all those arrows, that would be a game where the Yankees would be like minus 220 or the Dodgers 220. This game is pick. And that immediately makes me think that, okay, I'm going to be a little contrarian here and take the Texas Rangers. So I think all three of us are aligned on the Rangers. Is that right? Dr. Chugga, you're on the Rangers, right?
I wouldn't be taking Rangers as a side.
Oh, you like the Angels?
Kevin's definitely on the Rangers. I would definitely be on the Angels if I was taking a side. I like the under more.
Okay, so my apology on that. I thought you had said. I don't remember you did say the Angels with that lineup. Yep. All right, so let's move on to the third and final game before our best bet segment, and this is another one that's kind of funny. Arizona Diamondbacks against the Los Angeles Dodgers. Not that there's anything humorous about baseball, but the line is kind of laughing at us, going like, what? So we have Tyler Anderson, who got absolutely hammered by the Philly Bats in his last start, which was game 1 of that 4-game series. And he's going against an Arizona Diamondbacks team that is doing much better than anybody had anticipated, at least words coming out of my mouth. I didn't see them being 500 at 18-18. At this point of the season, and they actually are playing at a sustainable level, in my opinion. Let's start with Kevin this time and see if he agrees with my lean on the Arizona Diamondbacks with that juicy plus 180.
I don't. I would take the 1.5 with the Diamondbacks, just like last night. Pretty sure I might have gave that out as a winner on my other thing. I did like the Diamondbacks last night plus 1.5. The main reason was the Dodgers bullpen is just battered. I mean, their injury report is just all pitching. So you got Anderson. I don't know if he didn't face the Diamondbacks this year. He's 3-0, but we saw what the Phillies did to him, hammered him all over. But the Phillies are a better hitting team than the Diamondbacks. My thing is the Diamondbacks don't need to score a lot of runs. They got Merrill on the mound, who actually fared very well against them last time he faced them. He faced them on the 25th last month, and he did okay. He just needs to do okay. And if you put that, take the 1.5 run line, you're going to cash this ticket. Like I said, Anderson, I might actually lean on the under here just because the Dodgers didn't really crush the Diamondbacks in that game. And I think they're still hanging over for their series with the Phillies. I mean, I would look at the under, but I'd also look at the Diamondbacks plus 1.5 just to cover this spread.
Yeah, and that's not even what is the vig on the run line right now? Like minus 110, plus 100.
If it's plus 180, then that's definitely where we'd sit
Yeah,
at. Maybe
I'll
minus
just
115.
I have it right
It's
here in
all
the
the way up
wager.
to it's all the way up to $1.25 in spots, $1.30. But yeah, I mean, John, you brought up that this line reeked. I mean, it's not anywhere near where it opened. There's places it opened 250. I mean,
Yeah.
Just like everybody immediately
Yep.
smelled that this reeked, and it opened at plus money on the run line and is now over, minus 125 or more. So yeah, I mean,
It did. You're absolutely right. It was plus 220, minus 250. And interesting enough, the run line was minus 105, plus 1.5 runs for Arizona. So that actually has narrowed to the money line movement,
That's because
which,
Craig Kimball got destroyed last night. I mean, 2 innings, 2 hits,
good
two
point.
runs, 2 earned runs. I mean, that's their closer. Who are they going to throw out there tonight? I mean, that's the thing. They get to that eighth, ninth inning, they can score 1 or 2 runs, and that 1.5 is golden, in my opinion.
Well, maybe they'll trade for Jensen again and bring him back.
He's hurt, isn't he, for the
Boy,
Braves?
if Tony Finn heard me say that, he just he probably just left for the liquor store.
yeah.
Tony did not like Dave Roberts' moves, and I agreed with the large majority of them were mind-boggling. And Jensen was smoke and mirrors last year. I don't care what his ERA was, but anyway, Kimbrel is better. But if he's fatigued already, that's not a good sign. Anyway, I think the value is definitely with Arizona here, without a shadow of a doubt. And maybe it's a combination bet for me with, say, 75% on the run line if it's less than minus 120, and then 25% on the money line. So if you bet 100, 75 run line, 25 money line, get a little bit extra on that. That makes a lot of sense to me, I think. And again, look at the arrows. The arrows are all pointing over to the Dodgers. We got 3 pointing to the Arizona Diamondbacks. I got to think the betting public is all over the Dodgers, especially the run line. Anyway, let's move on to our best bets. And, well, Dr. Chuck, you didn't do a breakdown for this game yet, did you?
I have a couple things.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Kevin's right. I mean, Merrill Kelly is. We could probably debate all game, or all show, or for an entire day, or however you would want to go about it. But yeah, the Diamondbacks are hitting, but they have Merrill Kelly, they have Zach Gallen. These guys are top tier starters, not just for a team, that's at the bottom of the NL West. These are good, solid guys, and he's kind of got a Dodger monkey on his back. He pitched well last time. He doesn't get run support. He's 1-7. Well, the Diamondbacks are 1-7 lifetime with Kelly on the mound against the Dodgers, and he's got a winning record overall against the other 3 teams. The Diamondbacks are 17-14 when he starts against the other 3 teams. So, I mean, it's just one of those things where if people look into that, how long can that last? Because his metrics add up. And John brought this up last week. It's just, he mentioned all the arrows are pointing towards the Angels. All the arrows are pointing towards the Dodgers. Well, there's 2 cities, as he mentioned last week, that dominate the betting public, that dominate the statistical measures. The Dodgers lineup is not, they're going to have arrows pointing towards them no matter what happens, off of losses, off of wins. The arrows are going to point that way, especially when they face the D-backs. It's just, you have to be, it's not public money that's moving this thing from minus 220, minus 230 to Diamondbacks getting that much to now being just plus 180, and you're laying juice on the run line. I mean, this is not a home game either. So, obviously the sharps and the smarts and the money is all on the Diamondbacks. But John, just the last, before I don't have a big play on this, except I love the run line as well. I don't love it as much at minus 130, honestly. That's not how I want to get a run line. It kind of stinks that that's the case as we're filming this. But they're playing right now, and Gilbert is playing against Peplo. They're in the bottom of the first or top of the second right now. And I know John loves the aspect of the doubleheaders, especially when we're doing a show during one of the doubleheader legs. And I think maybe John can do this quickly while one of us is talking. Gilbert's coming from the left side. Merrill Kelly's coming from the right side. I don't have the numbers in front of me as to how that affects a team playing in a doubleheader, especially as a dog of close to the same size in both games.
That's a great point. Yeah, maybe I can quick do that. If not, we'll save it for the next show. So what you're saying is left-handed, right-hander in game one, left-hander in game two, or the opposite.
Well, I'm really into the VMI stuff, and it's going to change the VMI even without the ADI changing. You're playing a game just within an hour of the other game. VMI only accounts. Yep. The VMI that's posted for every team only accounts for the opposing starter, which is tricky for teams like the Rays. If you become beholden to games and you're trying to bet against or for the Rays, you have to be careful, because the idea is your starter goes as long as he can go. That for most teams, that is waning with a lot of guys and a lot of teams and a lot of managerial ideas. But in general, that's how VMI works. And the VMI will change if you go from a lefty that is more of a soft tosser to Merrill Kelly, who is a four-seam fastball pitcher.
That's a good point. I have this game starting at 10:10 Eastern Standard Time, which would be shadow time at Dodger Stadium. And what I mean by that is the shadows will creep to the pitcher's mound, and then they'll be between the pitcher and the hitter, which is a tremendous advantage for the pitcher. Do you think that's going to make any difference, Chuck?
It can. It's not something that I don't. I'm less with shadows as I am with, but it's very important because that's something that is never taken into account when you just look at a line and say, I'll take the Dodgers for less than $2. I'll take them.
It's a good point. There was a famous quote too. I don't know who said it, but no one knows where the shadow lurks. So maybe that's why we don't pay attention to it in handicapping baseball. Anyway, that wasn't funny. But let's have some fun with our best bets. And I'm gonna let Kevin Thomas go first, and then Dr. Chuck. But guys, make sure you mention what's going on over at Sports Memo, what you have special going tonight. NBA Game 1 is tonight. We got hockey. It's just going absolutely bonkers with 5 Game 7s over the weekend that were just, the large majority of them were just tremendous compared to the NBA Game 7s. So take it away, Kevin. Tell us what's going on and give us your best bet.
Well, I've heated back up, and I'm 70% in hockey last 7 days, 70% in baseball last 7 days. I can't say that about NBA, but I plan to get on the winner's side tonight. You can get each of those individually or all 3 of those, my top NHL, NBA, and MLB. My Tuesday trifecta for $25 over at SportsMemo. Can't pass that up. That's a huge, great deal there. For my best bet, guys, when I give out my best bet, it's usually a huge dog, but there's a very good possibility it's going to hit. It's my best prop bet most of the time, and I'm going back to that Angels game. Now, I said I'd take the Rangers in this game, but I didn't say the Angels weren't going to put runs up. There's a kid, Taylor Ward. He lit Hearns up last time they played, and this kid has been on fire. And you got to look at who they got to pitch to. Then you got Trout, Rendon starting to hit now on Tani. Then this kid's hitting 5-6. So pick your poison, and they've been picking him home run, 450 units if he hits a home run. Good luck.
Wow. I like it. I like it a lot. And Dr. Chuck, I'm going to go next here. We have the betting angle of the day here. And I still don't know why that white bar comes across. We'll have to get the graphic artist on that one. But we're betting on underdogs, plus 125, plus 175. That are, and I'll have to get the note for this. I'll bring it up right now. Just give me 1 second here. The requirements for this system are 125, 175 dogs. The team that is the underdog had 10 fewer hits in the previous game, which the Nationals did, and I'm sure they're going to do multiple times throughout the remainder of the season. Those dogs go 44-30, averaging a plus 147 underdog. making 39 units for 47% ROI last 5 seasons. That's a bet on the Washington Nationals on the money line against the Miami Marlins. And guys and gals, this is how I call these systems blackjack systems, drawing on the popular casino game. So if you go into a casino and play 74 hands of blackjack and you win 44 and lose 30 of them, and say you're betting $100, for example, which would be crazy, but okay, so you did. You walk out of there with basically a $1,400 profit, not counting the extras for 21. However, in this particular system, you can stay at home and play this system. And when it comes up, you would have walked out of that casino or walked out of your living room with $3,900 instead of just $1,400. I'd rather play these Major League Baseball betting systems with the dogs like this than sit in a casino where some of the places allow smoking, and that would just make my eyes water and I become very miserable and irritable. So that is my best bet for the show. And I hope you liked it. So, Dr. Chuck, tell us what's going on at Sports Memo and anything special that you have for our viewers.
We're trying to do, like Kevin said, and heat back up. Sometimes we have really bad days. Unfortunately, that's why this is long-term. MLB is long-term. Still number one on the season, especially since opening day at Sports Memo and Wager Talk. So check us out. Every day we have packages. As most people know, I hardly ever shoot this show without play happening right now. We're on the White Sox at the moment. I have at least 3 more plays already loaded up, including my best bet. Just to Kevin's play. Love it. When I was posting my play on the White Sox today, it was in addition to some Luis Robert news. Only 3 guys have more than 1 WAR just in May so far, and they are Bryce Harper, obviously, Jose Altuve, Luis Robert, and Taylor Ward, who is tied with Bryce Harper in May for 1.2 WAR. So, I don't want to get into WAR, and people hate and love WAR, but Taylor Ward's a good bet every night until you don't win. And if you have to lose 3 times and win once and you still profit, then that's a good way to go. I'm looking at the Yankees on the run line here. It's a big price for a reason. Expand it if you want. I talk a lot about line expansion. When you can do that at a lot of these books now, you can do so much more stuff. You can get it at -2.5, -2, -3, -3.5. Those are all going to get you more lucrative than that -140 on the run line. But the Orioles are underratedly hideous in the second game of a divisional series. It's shocking. I posted this in my play, so go buy the play if you want, but it's the Yankees run line. The Orioles are 10-16 in game 1s. They're 11-14 in game 3s. They're 7-4 in game 4s and 5-27 in game 2s. And with that 5-27, they're 9-23 against the run line, which is all we need tonight. Tyone and Watkins have completely opposite numbers. Tyone he gets a ton of run support. It was brought up the other night on TV. So does Garrett Cole this season. The Yankees score for everybody. Watkins doesn't get run support and has a 6 FIP, and this is just it's a low-hanging apple according to our systems, and so go get it. I also played it myself personally at -3, +140. See what you can get.
Oh, I love it. Absolutely love it. So unfortunately, that brings us to the end of our show, but it's been a good one. And I do want to add one more thing. I do like the idea of the Diamondbacks, and I may do this with the run line or the money line. I'm going to hope that the Dodgers score first, and then you're going to get a really, really juicy price. But you can only do this during the first 2 innings. I've statistically proved it with models. After that, you get to the 7th inning. How many times does a team blow a lead like the Philadelphia Phillies did to the New York Mets when they gave up 7 runs in the bottom of the 9th or the top of the 9th? It doesn't happen very often. So you're basically playing a window of 5 innings after the 2nd inning. And I think that's about the limit. So the Dodgers have the lead at the end of 2. I'll be on a show best bet here with the Diamondbacks on we'll do the +1.5 run line. So, gentlemen, thanks again for your time. This is always a blast. We're going to be back tomorrow with another edition of the Full Count Major League Baseball show. And until then, always remember to bet with your head, not over it, and may all the wins be yours.